So I understood that, yes, even with the residency for Liberland at this time and point, I will look on other projects. And other projects are happening, popping up here and there. And I liked, as usual, presentation of leader Titus Gebel. And it's very inspirational. And he speaks and understands a lot about international legal and economical landscape, I would say. But we will see. I hope that they will come up soon with what they hinted a little bit earlier about cities, that they are in communication discussion with some government in Latin America, I understood, or Caribbean. Like, as far as I understood it, so it's existing cities, but probably which is running low in economical development, and government want to give a boost and attract new people and investment. But you have already structure, you have culture existing, you have local people, which I would be personally very interested to mingle, like to communicate with, even I need to learn the language. And by the way, did you notice they announced that kind of official language cities will be English? It's very nice, but I believe anyway we need to find a way to communicate with local people because
Yes. Yes, I agree. That's one thing with me being from Canada, that English is really the universal language of business. So that is the one that gets adopted. So that kind of makes me a little bit lazy on that end of it. But I am in Mexico. I am learning Spanish, poco a poco. I can get by. So I do agree that's very important. And I know there are some communities as well that create their own language.
really, what community, what language? Don't we have enough? Not enough languages?
I don't want to learn a made up language. I think I'd rather stick with one that's a little more universal.
A meta language, because here there is Esperanto. There was developed like international language that would unite in more than 100 years ago, unite people from the different cultures, kind of common language. It was in trend for some time and after then disappeared because probably people were lazy or they just connected with different countries and they learned the local language. You need to learn it. But meta, maybe it's for new generation when they would not able to speak normal language. They will speak this cut it. But jokes aside, I at least get that project by Ivan Ko. You remember this gentleman from Hong Kong who was looking for, and I remember him from a couple of years ago. I met him on some online event, but his presentation about 21st century city in England, in UK, Freeport, I think he's close to something really tangible. And I believe the biggest success in this regard, because he found full understanding from the local government. I don't know, it's what he told, like municipality or like this region, and they are happy, they fully understand each other, and the city already there's something and they have investment. And he was saying that it's a city for people from Hong Kong, but I believe it will be not only for people from Hong Kong.
No, I don't think so. Not being in the UK, I think it would attract other people as well. And if I recall correctly, he's modeling it after a city that is in Japan right now. And I want to say it's the Toyota city.
Yeah, I was looking on the website.
It's interesting. It for when I did research, I looked at that city a while ago, actually, when I wrote an article about 15-minute cities. And I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes it seemed I'd be curious to hear more of his vision and what his plans are, because 15-minute cities raises flags for me.
You know what? I can tell you that initially 15-minute city, and I understand your hesitance because I'm the same. It was very good, livable concept created by a Latin American architect. And it was created really for convenience and for a place to be developed for people to communicate, for not to spend hours in commute like I was for more than 20 years in Canada. But because this concept was taken aboard by elites and like certain organizations, as many good concepts they take and change the concept such a way that even the good concepts we became suspicion to. But by itself, if it will be free, I don't know how free it can be because technology would be used in this city. We cannot live, I believe, fully rustic life. I don't know. It's up to community and how they're going to develop and security with all understanding that I, like myself, I don't like cameras in every corner and be followed by. But we have our cell phones, which followed with us in every place we are in. But like now, seriously speaking, specifically when you are in new country or creative, you need security because world is very vulnerable. Just to feel that you are safe inside. It all depends who are the people who on top of this, what ideas they yes they follow. But technology, if it's used for the people, as they say, for the improving people life or serving people for the lifestyle. And practically speaking, I'm over the last years, and for me, it's a big change because I was going every day to downtown, I was traveling. But over the last years, I started to live to like my community I'm living here. And it's very important and convenient to me that I have close, actually 15 minutes amenities.
So I appreciate that where you can get everything within your walking distance and stay close and not have that long commute because I've had those nightmare long commutes myself. It's the control that the government might issue over you. That's my concern. That they're going to lock your free. So you're 15-minute city and you won't be able to get out. That's the concern with the 15-minute cities.
Yeah, but again, like we have like propaganda, or I would say different opinions on many things. So the question are in details, who are ruling and what kind of rules and what kind of people you are surrounded by. Because look, they were trying to implement it in UK. I was following. And as far as I know, people were against it in small city, existing cities in UK. Okay, we will follow Ivan Co project, and I believe it will give us some answers. Look, there are so many things that I wanted to discuss, and I'm looking on the time. I can tell you that I like with all these projects, physical projects which were presented, some thoughts, and I remember Vince Graham, who presented inspiring free cities through creation of beauty. Because again, I would like to live in beautiful place. Nature is okay, but beauty is very important for our well-being. Yes, I believe so. And Oscar Correas, who presented visualizing the future, but it's not about the title, even title is good, but about the concept. And I understood that he was clear working on and thinking for years probably about how to build community, how to form this cohesive group and condition for people to like it and to live in harmony, and the community would satisfy different people needs.
Yeah, he was with the region tribes. Start your journey on tribes platform. So I have to look more into what he's doing as well. Now, was he the one who had a project in Mexico?
This started, Nicole Reese, which I will speak with her tomorrow, was in Mexico for some time, and I even believe he's from Mexico. But because there are so many different communities, and Nicole spent some time, I'm reading her Substack. I've subscribed on Eco Living in Costa Rica. She was visiting several communities and not visiting, she lived with them for some time. And through experience, I believe they collected a lot of ideas, what is working, case studies, I would say. And I believe that they united together, Nicole and Oscar, and they get to this concept, but it's mostly for eco living, like for this type of communities. And Charlotte, it was another topic which was, I believe, covered by several speakers of the conference about seasteading. And I remember that the first time when I've heard about this concept, like a couple of years ago, I even didn't understand what it's about. It took me time to look online and to find and see the pictures and listen to presenters how they explain it. That I'm just trying my best to explain to others what it is. But the presentation during the conference by Joe Quirk, I remember he was speaking about seasteading. It's from one side, it's futuristic concepts, but from other side, they implemented already several, they name it floating cities, but it's more kind of the villages. Floating cities, as they say, a solution for climate change on the water, in the seas and oceans. And I believe some projects was started near the Panama and some project of this kind in near the California. And what they were speaking about ARC project near the Philippines. So I don't know, it's a different project or they moving. It's
The one that I'm most familiar with is the one off the coast of Panama. Ocean Rivers is the company that is building those sea pods. And Grant Ramont, one who is a co-founder of that company, and he spoke at the conference as well. So he's living in one of the sea pods right now, so off the coast of Panama. And very interesting. If you want to follow him on Instagram, I share a lot of his stuff on my stories sometimes too, because some people, they're water babies. So they have ones that can go out on the high seas, but the ones that they're testing right now are the close to shore ones. And I think they're beautiful inside, the 360-degree views around you. They're bright, they're white. They just look like such a nice, clean, appealing atmosphere. I don't know if I'd want to live on the water 7 days a week. I still like to be on land. For me, how I would find it interesting is possibly owning one as a rental.
yeah, just to try this experience, to have experience.
Yeah. To have the experience. And I think it would be a great investment for a rental property if something like that would be allowed, like an Airbnb or that type of thing, to go and stay in one for a week. I think would be super amazing to do.
They already completed. They open the gates and accept people.
Yeah, like yes, you can buy them. It's not cheap.
Yeah, because they were speaking about even some resorts near a resort, floating resorts near the Philippines, and the project looked amazing and kind of streets and home buildings and arcades.
Yes, that was the ArcPad, the first floating resort that they have. And the concepts are interesting because you think, okay, if you go out on the high seas, like I listen, Joe Quirk and Titus had a panel discussion and they were talking about how it would work on the high seas. And he said, you have to have it the equator if you're going out into the high seas because the winds aren't there, the drastic weather's not there. So you're not going to get the hurt. Apparently, I didn't know this, the hurricanes don't go over the equator. They go, so you don't get the massive waves where you could put a city out on the high seas. And then they have concepts where they do fish farms that has a negative connotation. But when they're close to land, they get really polluted because they're so full of fish poop. And that's what the fish are floating in. But when they're out on the ocean, that's the healthy, correct environment. So they can actually make cages that attach to these floating towns or cities where so they can farm their own fish. They can farm seaweed. They can do gardens. It's a very fascinating concept.
Yeah, the concept and ideas, and actually for some luxury tourism and adventurers. And if people, I remember when I read, spent a lot of money to live in some building from ice, like to sleep in these ice castles, like why not to try water castles? And but speaking about liberty, no, it's like for some people it might be extension of their liberty. opportunity to live outside of mainland country, society? How you understand it?
Yes. If you related to how Joe related it to was cruise ships. And I think this is a way to help people understand that it's a new concept. So you may be out on the ocean flying a cruise ship under the flag of the Bahamas, for example, for whatever reason that you may want to follow their rules for certain things. Employment rules fall under those different countries then. So certainly a different way to look at freedom and liberty because you're not attached to the dirt of the country that the country is in. It's right on the ocean. I'm not an island girl, but I discovered that from spending 3 months on the Azores. No, I need to be on land. But just because I wouldn't live there, I love visiting. But for some people, it would be the absolute perfect place to live. And I always say this about the Azores because when you're out there in the ocean, the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, pretty much with nothing around, it feels like you are on a different planet and you feel very secluded. And if you're that type of person that wants that, it's perfect for you. Like you feel like nobody can touch you out there. Like nobody knows we're even here. You're doing your own thing. And I think that's what it would be like with seasteading as well.
And I think there are some periods in our life when we want this seclusion. We probably need it for one or another reason. And what I like about Free City Foundation and actually the concept and many projects which are joining now, that there is variety of lifestyles for different type of people, for different ages, for different preferences. It's give opportunity for people really to learn about different environments, community types, and even themselves. Because probably before you spent some time on island and I spent some time, I even didn't know that it's not for me. I yes, you need to spend some time and love different experiences.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's why I'm excited to see a lot of these projects take their next step. The other one that I wanted to touch on that I'm very interested in is Freedom Towns. It's something, it appeals to me very much because I like that they're going to be a small population. I'm not a big city girl. I grew up on a farm. I like small. 500 is their population. They plan on having the housing and agriculture is going, they'll have dedicated space to agriculture. So they'll be self sustaining. And that's a big part of it. And I think that's very important in the world moving forward that where you're going to live, you're not going to have to rely on imports coming from another country, that you're where you are is going to be self-sustaining food wise. I think that's going to be very important. So I really like that part of their concept as well, that they'll have schools, businesses. And I also like that they're not going to be, their attention's not far away from a main center or main airport so that you are still connected to big cities. So you're close to hospitals or something like that. If you're going to need that type of thing, or you still want to get that culture, you can go and live in your little small town with your like-minded people, but you're not going to be secluded and remote. And that type of lifestyle is something that I am personally interested, that really appeals to my needs and my desires. So I like that.
And you're speaking now about the project in Portugal. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I am following this company as well. And I know that they're planning at least to build additional community and for people who like variety, probably, who likes seclusion. And but with flights from Lisbon to Azores, it's pretty doable, as I say. And I know that they're planning additional communities in different countries and continents. At least it's what they say now. And I really wish them the best because I would like to join them as well and meet you at some of the communities. But probably we will meet each other in Mexico before then. What other projects resonated with you and you think our listeners should know about?
Los Propietarios.
Proprietarios. Yes, I remember something. What do you like about this one?
I was just intrigued by the land deal that they were offering. You would get 1,000 square kilometers of land to anyone who pays the entry fee of 250 US dollars. And I found that intriguing. So I haven't looked into it further. I'm going to. They're looking for people to help with promotion and for people to live there. um, they don't have the land yet. There are places, there's a few plots that they're looking at. And he has said that, and Argentina is just an interesting case in itself. And land apparently is very cheap. So it's, I hate saying, I shouldn't say the word cheap, affordable. Afford, Affordable is a much more appropriate and
But $250 for the cube? It's
yet it was 1,000 square kilometers of land to anyone who pays the entry fee of $250.
but it's entry. You don't know what this entry means. Maybe to get to the door.
I need to, yes, I'm going to do more research on that.
Yes, and I understand that having a land it's important, and Argentina make waves lately with changes exactly in liberal direction. And I can tell you that I was dreaming about Argentina and Buenos Aires in particular when I was girl. I know, Charlotte, we can speak for hours about our topics, and it was really a lot of to process. I even didn't process all after the many presentations provided. What are your personal takeaways overall from the conference? And are there any changes or new initiatives you're considering as owner of the Liberty Travel Coach company as a result? How it will affect your vision and work for the near future?
I must go to the conference in 2025. I think I have to meet these people in person and build the connections, build the relationships. It's just in person is so different. So I was so, like we had said at the beginning, I was so hoping to attend this year, but it just did not work. So next year, I must go and meet these people and make those connections. I'm still something that hasn't changed. I'm still very interested in Montelibro as an option for clients moving forward, focusing more on the projects that do exist that have people living in them and paying close attention to these ones that I think are up and coming.
And lastly, what advice would you give to someone listening who is considering making the leap into the alternative lifestyle of what we discussed or joining an intentional community? What would you say?
I think start now. Start doing your research now, find the people to connect with now, learn as much about the country, about the organization, about the companies that are putting these plans and projects together. If you can go visit these projects, go. You have to go and see. And if, especially if you intend on buying, I highly advise not to buy until you have seen. And if you are going to go that a rental is possible, go for as long as you can. Long-term rental, at least a month, immerse yourself in the community if possible.
I absolutely agree with you. Charlotte, it's been an absolute pleasure having you share your insights and impressions from the Liberty in Our Lifetime conference. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to add to our followers, or maybe some other ideas you have?
It's always inspiring to be around people who think the same way. And they are out there. They're not alone. We found each other online, Emily.
Yes, I'm really happy for this fact.
Yeah, so we have different ideas about different things, but that's good. We are individuals. We may think alike, but we are individuals. So you just really need to focus in, if you're intending on making this leap, what it is that you really want and really dig deep into that. So that can help you and help me help you determine where you want to go.
Thank you very much for your work, opinion, and I'm actually thinking about attracting people who would be interested in such communities and such projects. For me, this topic is new as well, and I do it in parallel. And I always even say people ask the questions. Followers, think about it, write to us, and we will do our best to help you to find. And I will do the best, and I have already lined up of speakers who are from Free City Foundation, and I have interviews with people outside the foundation, but who are building such communities, because I believe it our future might be, even we are not considering it today. Thank you very much for being with us today, Charlotte. I was, as usually, enjoying our conversation, and I believe we will continue to discover new communities and to speak about them, providing information and some educational ground, I would say, for people who don't have ideas but might be on the lookout for alternative communities or way of living. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Exactly. Great. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you. Wow, what a ride that was. A huge thank you to Charlotte Tweed for sharing her experiences and insights from the Liberty in Our Lifetime conference. Let's recap some key takeaways. The Free City movement is gaining momentum worldwide. There are exciting projects happening on 5 continents. Personal freedom can be enhanced through practical strategies. Feeling inspired? Here's what you can do next. Follow Age of Reinvention podcast for updates and future interviews. Share this episode with friends who might be interested. Remember, the journey to freedom starts with small steps. Whether it's exploring new ideas or considering a relocation, you are already on the right path. Got questions or want to learn more? Don't hesitate to reach out to the Age of Reinvention or Charlotte at Liberty Travel Coach. We are here to help you navigate this exciting new world of possibilities. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review. Until next time, happy travels and stay curious and keep dreaming big. Your perfect free city might be just around the corner.